All right, so without further ado, I'd like to introduce our speaker, Dr. Barnett. And here's a microphone for you. And she's going to tell us what the difference between dogs are.
All dogs, yes.
All dogs, yeah.
Step this way. Okay, both of us. You can hear me okay?
Yep.
Excellent. And you've got some slides for me? Awesome. So I know nothing about radios. I apologize. Indeed.
We had a beekeeper here, okay? So it isn't always radio.
You never know. So this is a fairly random topic, I guess, but I met Rob at the California Avenue Farmers Market. I met Rob at the California Avenue Farmers Market some months back, and we started talking. And then I was there with my dog, MJ, who's here with me tonight. And we were kind of talking about service dogs and therapy dogs. And so he thought it would be fun for me to come and talk to you. I'm an ER doctor. I work at El Camino. I've worked various places around the Bay. But I'm now also a therapy dog volunteer at El Camino. So this is MJ. She is a 5.5-year-old golden retriever who started off life as our pet. But she's, as many of you have already discovered, extremely friendly.
She's very happy right now. This tail is just.
She is just like, oh, this is a room of my best friends. So we became therapy dog volunteers. Okay, into the microphone. But we get a lot of questions about what is a therapy dog and what is a service dog, and isn't that really hard? So this is just a couple slides to sort of go through what the differences are between service dogs and therapy dogs and emotional support dogs and all of those things. So you can go to the next slide. So there's lots of dogs with jackets. And there are service dogs, and there are therapy dogs, and there are emotional support dogs, and then there are all sorts of other working dogs, like the drug sniffing dogs and things like that. But the three main categories that I'm going to talk about tonight are the therapy dogs, the emotional support dogs, and the service dogs. And go ahead to the next slide. So a service dog is a dog that's doing a job. And it's a professional, and it's trained to assist a person with a specific disability. And there are lots of different types of service dogs, but they're all working dogs. They're not pets. So if you see someone out with a service dog, generally you should assume you are not to pet them. You can always ask, and it's always good to ask if you can pet a dog, but in general, a service dog is not a petting dog. Go ahead. So service dogs do all sorts of different stuff. There are guide dogs for the blind. There are dogs that will alert for someone who's hearing impaired. There are dogs who can detect seizures coming on. There are dogs who can tell when someone's blood sugar is getting low or high. There are dogs that help people get around. They can sniff for allergens. There's all sorts of things that service dogs do. Go ahead. And the service dog training is extremely intensive. It starts very young, and often service dogs are bred specifically to become service dogs. There are schools, there are academies, and again, they're training to assist with a particular task. There are actually remote or online programs if people want to like train their own dog to be a service dog. But again, they're training to do a particular job. All right, next slide. So therapy dogs, like MJ, hello, they're not so heavily trained, and they're not bred for their job, but they are basically volunteers who are designed to bring comfort. And they're specially trained, but not bred from birth to be therapy dogs. So therapy dogs will be certified through various volunteer programs, and they'll go into hospitals and schools and libraries and old folks' homes and all sorts of things and places. And by and large, they are there to be petted, and they are there to be loved, and they are there to be read to, and they are there to bring joy and comfort to people who may otherwise not be having a great day. Therapy dog training, again, as I said, it's not as intensive. I did not get MJ thinking that we were going to have a therapy dog. I got MJ because I wanted a fuzzy friend. But she is extremely friendly by nature. After we had sort of done normal puppy training, I thought it would be cool to bring her into the hospital with me. And so we contacted the volunteer association that works with my hospital, and we went through the training and got certified. The certification is similar to the Canine Good Citizenship test, which is more of a national test, and maybe some of you dog owners have done that. So it's like that, but then there's a bit extra to be able to go into a hospital or a school. You need to be okay with any sort of environment. So lots of chaotic, stimulating environments, medical equipment, crowds, anybody petting you at any time. It focuses around being calm and being friendly and just kind of being a chill, friendly dog. They're, again, not trained for a specific task, however. You can go ahead. People always often talk about whether their dog could be a therapy dog. And, you know, given the training, sure. Temperament is important, though. The dog really needs to like people. So that's sort of a prerequisite. You're not going to get very far trying to train your dog as a therapy dog if they don't like humans. And then the question is, do you want to put in the time to do the training and work on reliability? So MJ is very friendly and she reads faces and she knows that someone was making eyes at her. But she actually did that very well because she's supposed to wait for me to tell her it's okay to go. Okay, next slide. Emotional support dogs are a whole different thing. An emotional support dog is basically a certified pet. So it's somebody's dog or cat or whatever that provides emotional comfort to their owner. That then they get certified by a licensed mental health professional as a necessary comfort for that particular person's mental health. They're not specifically trained to provide assistance to someone with a disability. And there are service dogs who provide kind of mental health assistance. And so those are a distinct category as well. But an emotional support animal is basically someone who is a pet for one particular person. And in general, I would not reliably, they're not expected to be reliable with other people. So I wouldn't pet them unless they're yours. And I think that's all of my slides, but I'm happy to take questions about whatever. Yes.
Is there a different color vest that a service or an emotional support dog would wear?
I don't think there's any like rules and regulations about the vests because literally you can buy them on Amazon. And you can actually buy service dog vests on Amazon, which is a little worrying, but yeah, so I don't think so.
What then are the actual accredited organizations, or is there an accreditation for the organizations that are issuing these certificates? Because, I mean, I remember as a kid, there were guide dogs for the blind. And then over the course of my life, there's been kind of a proliferation of these things. And as you said, you can get the vests, you know, on Amazon. What regard should we have for those vests if they're just available on Amazon?
Yeah, it's worrying. I mean, I think in general, the service dogs are pretty well certified and monitored. I mean, it's a national thing. The therapy dogs are all done on a volunteer basis. And so you work with a particular volunteer association.
Service.
Yes.
Service guide dogs for the blind. They are accredited and they have a certificate when they pass training. And remember, certainly because I'm legally blind, I'm somewhat familiar with this, with people that I know, you know, the people who, the dog is actually in training for quite a long time. And then the dog is actually with its new owner for at least almost a month, maybe 2 or 3 weeks, for training. And then at that point, they're accredited and they can board planes, they can whatever. And so but they have a certificate that goes with them.
I think the service dog training, it's pretty rigorous. And these dogs are, you know, they start into intensive training at about a year, and go out when they're 3 or so and into the world. Yeah, it's a serious commitment. Therapy dogs are much easier.
Well, you know, the only shortcoming dogs have are short lifespans.
That is true. I literally in the last 3 weeks realized that MJ has got white in her eyebrows and her muzzle, and she's only 5.5.
Does MJ stay with you the whole time you're at the hospital, or it kind of sounds like you have 2 jobs now?
I have many hats in the hospital. MJ and I are certified through Pet Partners. And the way Pet Partners does it is we are a unit. So not anybody can just walk in with MJ. Only I can walk in with MJ. And we're not supposed to be more than 6 feet apart at any point. So yes, when she comes into the hospital, she just comes with me. Now, she doesn't come into the hospital with me all the time. I said I wear a couple different hats. I wear the ER doctor hat, and I also do palliative care, and she tends to come with me when I'm doing palliative care. I'm kind of moving too fast when I'm doing ER for her to be with me. So I can't give her as much attention as I would like. So, and it's, when I walk in for my ER shifts, the nurses go, "Oh, where's the dog?" So, yeah, she comes probably 3 times a week.
I have a question. You have a very stressful job and you take MJ to take care of other people's, you know, emotional needs or whatever. Do you find that you are more comfortable or more rested or more able to have stamina throughout your shift having her there?
Well, she doesn't get to come when I'm working in the ER. But it's actually been lovely coming with her into the hospital because it's a completely different role than even when I'm trying to do palliative care. If I walk in with MJ, I mean, people just light up. And it's a whole different pace. And I mean, people really miss their pets and they really love seeing MJ. So I'm just along for the ride at that point.
I have one other question, if it's okay. Are there people who don't want a dog in the room when
Yes.
you are attending?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. And one of the hardest things for MJ is not running up to everybody, because she just assumes all people need to pet her immediately. So I have to learn to read people as well, and say, "Oh, yeah, you know, I don't think they want petting." But yeah, no, some people don't. Some people don't like dogs, and that's okay. You know, you don't have to pet her.
Have you any cats?
I do not have cats now. I did have cats and I grew up with cats and I had cats in medical school. Cats are okay. They're, you know, low maintenance. I did not.
Well, hi, and thank you for being with us tonight. I'm curious regarding emotional support pets and dogs in particular. In a formal sense, how old of a concept is it? What was the impetus for making it a formal thing?
Ooh, you got me there. I know it's become a big thing in the last, 10 years maybe? And then I think the pendulum is swinging back a little bit because perhaps there were maybe the emotional support iguana on the plane was maybe not so popular necessarily. But it's, you know, certainly people's pets bring a lot of comfort and joy to them, generally in life. Okay, go pet.
Rob asks, is a service animal only for a dog? I understand that, and a separate question, I understand that airlines will not allow emotional support peacocks. I think he's asking about general question about varieties of animals that
Yes.
do different.
I think there are lots of different types of service animals. I think dogs are a pretty common one, but I know there are like monkeys, capuchins that are service animals. There are certainly many horses that are therapy horses. I'm not sure if there are many horses that are service horse. So, we get asked a lot, do we go to the pediatric area and the hospital? And we don't actually, because El Camino is sort of odd in that our pediatric area is actually an offshoot of Lucille Packard at Stanford. And Stanford has their own therapy animal program that involves much more than dogs. And part of passing the test there is that your therapy dog needs to not attack the therapy rabbit. Yes. So I think they have a lot of different animals. There was something about the emotional. Yeah, I think they're rolling back on the emotional support animals on planes and things like that. And therapy dogs don't get a pass on planes. Only really service dogs or service animals.
Are for the dogs that specialize in seizures, is there a known indicator that they cue off of to determine, or is it just kind of black magic?
I believe it is black magic. I mean, dogs can perceive all sorts of things that we can't. So, they're training dogs to like smell cancer and do all sorts of things. So somehow they can tell. And then they also can kind of, if someone's having a seizure, then try and kind of lie on them and calm them and stop them from hurting themselves. Or even call for help too. They can be trained to like push a button and, get someone.
One question here. Does MJ ever encounter service dogs? Do you ever have situations where she's?
I'm not
with
sure if
service
we've
dogs? How
ever met
does
a
she deal
service
with that?
dog. Part of passing the therapy dog test is to be able to walk past another non-threatening dog without freaking out. So we do meet other therapy dogs. I don't think we've ever met a service dog though. Just
Yeah, I assume the service dog would ignore her because that's part of its training.
yeah, probably.
Just curious whether or not, humans know to ignore the service dog and not pet them, but I'm just curious whether or not therapy dogs might.
MJ would not
different.
know that she's not supposed to.
Yeah.
Interact.
I got a question from out here in the peanut gallery.
Go for it.
Oh, Joe.
Okay, or maybe it's an observation. I've noticed that most of the legit service dogs are golden retrievers and short hairs or labs. And there are some people, veterans in particular, that have canines from their active military service that are also been cross-trained as a service dog. And when you see a veteran or a guy with a short haircut walking around with a service dog with a vest on and it's a German Shepherd, don't approach that dog the wrong way because that dog's also a canine and it's been trained similar as a police dog.
Yeah, in general, a service dog you should not approach. And you, like you say, if they're coming out of the military, those dogs may have been trained to do all sorts of things beyond service dog. But as you mentioned, there are certain breeds that are easier to train. When people talk about, oh, could my cockapoo be a therapy dog? Sure, maybe. But certainly for therapy dogs, Goldens and Labs love people and they are food motivated, which means you can train them pretty easily.
I do have an observation. So I oftentimes go to what's called CSUN. It stands for Cal State. It's anyway, what it is a conference for accessibility and disabilities. And there you will see lots of service dogs. I will tell you, I have witnessed dog fights between service dogs. They normally aren't supposed to do that, but at some point dogs are dogs. And, but they take them apart, they pull them apart, but, normally you will not see that, even when several service dogs are together. So, but I've seen it.
Yep. No human or person or dog is totally reliable.
Back to the breeds for just a second. How much of an issue is it for, particularly for therapy dogs where you're in a, like a hospital setting? How much of an issue are allergies and shedding and things like that? Is that something that they specifically try and find as therapy dogs that would be
Less allergenic.
well, or more?
I know,
I'm not sure if it's less or more, but you know what I mean.
yeah, no, I mean, there was no rules about shedding. I do know that there was the guy who organizes the program at El Camino said there were certain breeds he was not into because they drooled too much. So that's a downer, but I do get people who, smile at MJ and then say, no, I'm allergic. And, we just don't go get petted by them. She's going to like make her way around the entire, here we go.
I just had a question. You may have said it. What got you into having MJ become a therapy dog? What was the motivation?
Well, so you can see her personality. I got MJ as a pet as my children were growing and didn't want to snuggle quite as much. And then I was in the hospital doing palliative care and had this dog who just loves everybody. And she didn't like being left at home alone. And it seemed like she should just come. So we figured out how to do that. No, you may not have that.
I just had a comment too. If you're curious about service dogs, there's a movie called Pick of the Litter. It's really good. It takes you through the training of 4 different pups as they become guide dogs for the blind. It's actually a pretty interesting show.
Why'd you take MJ to the farmer's market? Is that part of her training?
That would be my husband over there. I take MJ to the farmer's market because it is a good place to practice all of the skills that she needs to practice. So the big things are chaos around her. So lots of activity, movement, noise, people, strange things happening. And then you just to have her deal from toddlers. Which much harder.
So follow-up question on that. I haven't been to the California one in a little while, but the ones that I've been to usually have signs that say no dogs. So does she get special dispensation because she's a therapy dog?
She does not. We go around on the outside.
Ah.
So we don't go down in the middle where the foods are, but we go around on the sidewalk. I think a service dog would, yes.
I'm going to read a couple of questions from Zoom. So one is, are therapy dogs friendly to other dogs as well?
Generally, yes. Yeah, well, so it's part of the test is not being aggressive to another dog, to a to a neutral dog. So yes, they need to be not aggressive dogs.
Is that part of this canine good citizen that you mentioned?
I think so. Yeah. We have actually not taken the canine good citizen test just out of why would I do this? But what I've been told is that a lot of the basic skills, she likes her paws and arms scratched. Sorry. And she will keep handing them to you until you do it.
You guys who are here on Zoom are really missing out.
Yes. Yeah, MJ likes her paws and arms scratched, and she will keep handing them to you until you do it right. But she is actually, one of the other things we do at the farmer's market is she's actually a bit nervous of dogs that are bigger than her. And so we go and practice being calm next to other big dogs.
And the other question from Rob is, it's my understanding that you can't or shouldn't ask someone what their disability is only if the animal is for a specific task. I think that's about service animals.
I think that's about service. That's probably about general politeness, but yeah.
You can't ask because it's a violation of the ADA to ask a disabled person if they're disabled beyond the fact that they're disabled, and that's it. Same with the service dog. You can't ask them if they're disabled and is that a real service dog if it's that service dog. I mean, there's a lot of fake service animals out there, and where you really run into problems with them is around places that are halal or kosher, because dogs are unclean in Judaism and in Islam.
No.
Shri asks if MJ reacts to people on video or on a screen.
I'm not sure. She generally does not really get phones or screens.
She watched TV. What are her favorite shows?
I don't know. I don't watch TV, so she doesn't have so much opportunity. She did bark at dogs on the screen.
You should show her Bluey. That's the best show.
Okay. Is it about dogs?
Little cartoon dogs.
Oh, okay. I know. We could try it though. Mm-hmm.
All right, any more questions? All right.
Yeah, can
thank
you come back? Can you come back next month, please, when I can be there?
I think I heard somebody on Zoom. Would you try again?
Oh, this is Michelle. I just said, can she come back next month when I can be there?
Oh. All right, very good. Thank you. Wonderful entertainment for the crowd.
I got one more question.
Okay.
This is Rob.
What is it, Rob?
Oh, sorry. So Kat, in your experience, is it the oxytocin release that is so beneficial from the therapy dog? And I imagine in your career, you've seen so many experiences where it's been beneficial to, bring people back to reality a little bit, and maybe even some life changes that improves their situation.
I mean, people just light up when they see her. It's really amazing. They have done studies about like blood pressure and pain scores and all sorts of things that are improved by therapy animals.